We're going to talk about the former Vice President of the United States, Walter Mondale, who died at the age of 93. And just kind of a look back, and we're calling this segment Fritz Calls It Quits, but not to make fun of the former vice president, because he actually seemed like a genuinely nice Midwestern guy, to be frank with you. Certainly it's not someone that I voted for, but we do wish his family well. And the thing that comes to mind with Fritz Mondale, of course, as he was known, is the fact that he ran against Ronald Reagan. But first, before doing that, he was vice president with Jimmy Carter. And so he actually ran against Ronald Reagan twice, because he ran against Reagan with Carter in 1980, and then again he ran as presidential nominee for the Democrat Party against Reagan in 1984. Well, here's what NPR said about this before we play the clip that I'm sure you remember. It says, former Vice President and U.S. Senator Walter Mondale died on Monday in Minneapolis, a family spokesman told NPR. The Minnesota Democrat was 93 years old. Mondale, who is known to his friends as Fritz, endured a landslide loss when he challenged incumbent President Ronald Reagan in 1984. But his most lasting mark may be left on the vice presidency, an office with little stature until Mondale redefined it while serving as vice president under Jimmy Carter. Carter said Monday he considered Mondale the best vice president in our country's history. He added, Fritz Mondale provided us all with a model for public service and private behavior. When former President Barack Obama asked then Senator Joe Biden to consider the vice presidency, Biden said that Mondale was his first call and trusted guide. He not only took my call, he wrote me a memo, President Biden said in a statement Monday. It was Walter Mondale who defined the vice presidency as a full partnership and helped provide a model for my service. Obama tweeted Mondale changed the vice president role so that Mondale's successors like Biden could be the last ones in the room when decisions were made. I'm not really sure that makes me feel better that good old Joe Biden under Obama was making decisions. But of course, is he really making decisions now anyway? I kind of doubt it. Well, that's what NPR said. But the Wall Street Journal says this. It says, former Vice President Walter Mondale, a civil rights champion who lost a 1984 White House bid in one of the largest electoral college landslides in U.S. history, died Monday evening at his home. He was 93. Mr. Mondale had died peacefully of natural causes, said Kathy Tunheim, a family spokeswoman. He had received numerous calls in recent days from the past and present political leaders and enjoyed sharing moments and memories with them, she said. Mondale, the 42nd vice president, was credited with boosting the status of his office with his deep involvement in shaping policy, influencing administration appointments, and conducting foreign policy negotiations. I was the first vice president to be in the White House working daily with the president, Mr. Mondale said in a 2008 documentary about his life. And that obviously is important, of course, because the vice president is number 2 in line. After the president, if the president becomes incapacitated or for some reason has died or killed in office, and that does matter since it is something that has happened before. But what reminds me the most about Fritz Mondale is the fact that during the 1984 debate, when Walter Mondale was the vice presidential nominee and Ronald Reagan was running for re-election in 1984, there was a debate and there was constant chatter about how Ronald Reagan would be the oldest serving president of the United States if he were to be reelected. And of course, as you would imagine, the Democrat Party, like the Republican Party is doing kind of now with Biden, but it's a different circumstance since Joe Biden clearly seems to be a fraction of himself, at least at the moment. But at that time, Ronald Reagan was being told, you're just too old to be president. You've already served 4 years. Enough is enough. But Reagan was phenomenally popular. So he was going to have to address this issue in the debate. And the debate was moderated by Henry Truitt. He's a famous columnist from the Baltimore Sun. And so Truitt asks a question. And the question is the age issue, right? Everybody was expecting the question. What's amazing is that Mondale thought it would thwart the Reagan presidency by asking the question because naturally the Democrats even then were planting questions in the media, and the media always welcomed those questions to try to thwart a Republican president. Well, it really backfired. We have that clip. It is worth listening to remember this particular debate, and also to remember Fritz Mondale and Ronald Reagan. And here is that clip.
I want to raise an issue that I think has been lurking out there for 2 or 3 weeks and cast it specifically in national security terms. You already are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Classic. Even the moderator's laughing.
If I still have time, I might add, Mr. Truitt, I might add that it was Seneca or it was Cicero, I don't know which, that said, if it was not for the elders correcting the mistakes of the young, there would be no state.
So there you go. So you have to understand that the moderator, Henry Truitt of the Baltimore Sun, was just laughing out loud at the response because Ronald Reagan had a great way of being very self-deprecating. And at the same time, he would use humor to be self-deprecating. And that's something that's badly missing in politics. And also Ronald Reagan went on to beat Mondale because it was that moment when the campaign completely was turned upside down and everybody realized, you know what, age really isn't an issue, at least not in this campaign. And the only state Walter Mondale won in the general election in 1984 was his own state of Minnesota. He lost the other 49 states. And actually, I don't remember the last time that has happened. I think it's the first time it's happened in my lifetime, and it has not happened since. But it tells you the strength of Ronald Reagan. We should also say for the record that Ronald Reagan later on in his second term ended up having early dementia by most accounts, although he was very well hidden from view and was able to hide it pretty well. And it does make you wonder about Joe Biden, who is showing, in my opinion, early stages of dementia from the first day he got into office, which really makes you wonder. But that's why this particular segment is important to remember. So we do remember Fritz Mondale, who died at age 93